up on this list is something that's a little bit personal to me, and that is the Kentucky Derby. It's always occurred in the first Saturday in May. It is essentially a national holiday in my family every single year. My dad and his side of the family is actually from Louisville, Kentucky, where the Derby is held each year. It's the Super Bowl of racing. And so, with that being said, he moved down to Jacksonville, Florida, where I am based now, with the Jaguars logo, as you can tell. And so, with that, we have a Derby party every single year, with the exception of last year and this year. Hopefully, we're going to be able to bring it back for next year, but it's an all day event because it's not just about the Derby of the actual running of the roses that happens around 6:30 at night, but there's actually races that happen all day long on Saturday and even the night before. So it's really like an all weekend sort of big party where there's games and drinks and betting and big hats and pretty derby dresses. And it's essentially the day that everyone I've ever met in my entire life, if they live in Jacksonville, they're at my family's party. And so, since we can't have it this year, I wanted to do something a little bit different and start to dive into more of the history of the Derby. And when I started going into sort of this rabbit hole of how do racehorses actually make it to the Derby and all of these other races that happen all over the globe, because horse racing is big business. These horses are sometimes worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars that these horses can be worth. And so I dove into this article from the Points Guy. He broke down how racehorses fly to the Kentucky Derby. And I thought, just sort of assumed that it was always just through ground transportation. Sometimes you see, driving along on interstates, you see the horse trailers, and that's sort of a cool sight. But they broke down how horses actually travel through air. And a bunch of different factoids that I found out as a newbie is that these horses, being worth so much money, they can fly first class, they can fly business, they can also fly economy. So I guess for some of those horses that aren't really worth a lot of money, that's how they're flying. But some of these horses, they also are transported together, which you can see in this image right here. Some of the horses, they have a temperament where they like to be around other horses. So they're not going to fly that first class isolated lifestyle. But in some of these planes that are outfitted for this horse travel, they include onboard grooms, vets, temperature controlled stalls, and other premium amenities. Now, this airline that you're seeing right here is actually from a carrier called Tex Sutton, and they have this plane. It's called Air Horse One. And I just love that sort of branding and phrasing, because this plane is actually outfitted specifically for horses. It's a Boeing 727, and it's outfitted for 21 horses, fitting 2 to 3 wide. And they said that pilots will also fly this plane will you alter their flight patterns to climb or descend the aircraft at slower speeds just to keep the horses comfortable. And so, as I'm sort of like snooping through like these different horse carriers, and I find out that there's actually a National Horse Carriers Association. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cute. Like, they actually have like rules and regulations in a group that fights for horse carrier or for horse treatment, I guess, during these different transport options. And I'm looking at the screen, and if you look on the right hand side, there's a name, Joseph W. Brumleve. I found out this week that that's actually my great uncle, my uncle Walt, who I knew as a little girl was a founding member of this National Horse Transportation Association. And it blew my mind. I ended up texting my entire family. And so, even on a week like this was to be able to find out some kind of information about my great uncle Walt. And this is a man who had a ton of adventures. He's a World War II veteran. He actually was included in the battle at Normandy. So he's a founding member of this National Horse Carriers Association that determines not only how horses are shipped across the states, but also the conditions that they're flown in all around the world. This group was founded in 1960 in Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky, and 11 companies signed on as charter members, my uncle being one of them. Now, at the time, the federal government regulated all trucking companies as to the territories that they were eligible to travel through, as well as the amount that they were allowed to charge for each shipment. This organization was formed to act for and on behalf of its members in the publication of freight rates and tariffs. So that's just a really, really just awesome discovery for me. Not only diving into a lot of these different factoids of how cool it is to like transport live animals, and especially for some of these animals that are worth, if you have a horse that wins a triple crown, every offspring from that horse or from that thoroughbred is going to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in stud fees. And so you have to think about from the angle of the investment that a lot of different owners all around the globe are making in these animals, that they are investing over generations of money into these animals. And so to be able to see the kind of just rock star treatment that they're getting, I thought was really, really fabulous. And then diving into some of the different Instagram accounts and social media accounts for these different companies, it was really sort of a breath of fresh air, because I'm looking at some of these more like niche based accounts, Tech Sutton being one of them, who specializes in horse transport by air, but calling their plane Air Horse One. They ended up trademarking that slogan and putting it all over their planes. And I just thought that that was a brilliant move. Also, the official Kentucky Derby account showing off the behind the scenes and the culture around this event. This event has been going on for 147 years. One of those behind the scenes is sort of the baby pictures of past winners. You're looking at Nyquist and Justify. Justify won the Triple Crown just a few years ago. So his offspring he's already making his owners back all of those hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly millions of dollars, that the original owner invested into racing, into breeding horses. So it's just really, really cute to see. I mean, look how cute those pictures are. But the official Kentucky Derby account is not only showing the behind the scenes and making you feel sort of emotionally attached to these horses, but they're also showing you the cultural scenes. Like I said, the Derby has been around for more than 147 years. And so being able to show that when the first Derby hat started to be worn, the culture of the Derby dresses, the mint julep, when that came to fruition, and how to actually make a mint julep. That's all things that the official Kentucky Derby account actually shows. Even if you go and check out their account on Instagram or TikTok, you'll see a first person view of what it's like to actually ride on a Derby horse. So it's that first person view. They strapped a GoPro to one of the jockeys, and you can see what it's like to actually race in the Kentucky Derby, which I thought was really, really fun to watch. But a few things that I wanted to bring up in with respect to Tech Sutton and with respect to the Kentucky Derby is that these are more like niche based accounts, if you can call it that. I guess if you're a sports fan, you probably consider horse racing as more of a niche based sport. And so for this in particular, they are showing you posts that make you feel an emotional attachment. They're showing behind the scenes, or they help you learn more about them, about the event and the services that they provide. So if you were to take sort of a play out of their book, out of the Kentucky Derby's book, you could use that same format of showing somebody how they can learn something, the behind the scenes, or developing an emotional attachment, maybe through an employee story or through a driver story. That's how you can strike that social media gold and sort of take a cue from the world of B2C and apply it to B2B, because we still, at the end of the day, people do business with other people. And so making that brand affinity, you can sort of feel it through these accounts.